I don't care how tired you are. This is what we're called to do. Help people, find them, save them.
We went through hell together.
You see the ugliness of people, you see the beautifulness of people.
There's only so many of us. How do you keep a town alive?
He handed me a piece of paper and he said, fill this out. We have a meeting Wednesday night. My husband said, where have you been? I said, I think I joined the fire department.
Cameron, Gary, Jeff in Las Vegas. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Nice
Hi,
to meet
thanks
you.
for having us.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, thanks for joining me today. Talk about Odd Hours, No Pay, Cool Hat. What an incredible documentary, a great message, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, Gary, volunteer firefighters, incredible citizens who serve their community. How did you come to tell their stories?
Well, we actually got approached on the project. We did not initiate the idea. Our executive producer, Peter Yoka, was somebody who had been kind of a retired entrepreneur traveling around the country, was looking for a positive story to tell, had come across the volunteer fire service and had met some chiefs and started just kind of interviewing firefighters and chiefs and learning more about it, and just became the more he got in it, the more he was convinced it was a story that kind of needed to be told. And he was starting to understand the challenges that they're facing in terms of essentially declining recruitment numbers, but increase in call volume throughout the country. And so then he approached us to kind of help put some shape to the idea and make the film.
And Cameron, 1.1 million firefighters, more than 700,000 are volunteers. I had no idea the commitment this country has to serving their community. Did that number surprise you too?
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, we, like Gary said, we didn't know anything about this, and so for us, it was the first step was just education. And I had very little connection to volunteer firefighters, but as soon as we started doing it, it was like every conversation I had about it, someone was like, "Oh yeah, my uncle was a volunteer firefighter. My sister does this, whatever." Like everyone is connected to volunteer firefighters in some way, whether they know it or not. And that was the first kind of amazing thing of a lot of other things we didn't understand that we learned very quickly.
And Gary, they're called on for many number of reasons and emergencies, aren't they? Not just fires.
Oh yeah, that's actually one of the big misconceptions about, they are called firefighters, but it's a very small percentage of what they do. It's like 1 out of every 30 calls or something like that is actually a fire call. It depends where you are in the country. I mean, there are some places that are fire only, but for the most part, they're doing EMS, they're doing rescue, they are saving cats out of a tree and, or people who fall out of their bed. I mean, there's a line in the film when I think one of the chiefs is saying that, people call the fire department for anything. And it's true. I mean, they are the first line of defense for so many things.
But they're everyday farmers, ranchers, loggers. I mean, this is just the average citizen, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, everything from 16-year-olds or sometimes 14-year-olds who are doing, first aid with their departments all the way up to, 75-year-olds. And that was really a part of it, was showing these are everyday people. This is your next door neighbor. These are people you wouldn't expect. Hopefully with the goal that people might see that it's something they could do too, and not to sell themselves short. This really is everyone. They need a cross section of people with a range of skills, a range of abilities to kind of come together in this way.
And Gary, so many stories to tell. How did you choose the ones to feature in your movie? And how did you gain their trust? Because you are, following with the camera and telling their story.
Right. Yeah, that was probably the most difficult part of the film, I think, besides the edit. Cam had to figure out how to put it all together, so that was tough. But in the beginning, we initially thought we were going to do 3 stories. That was the initial idea. And we put out a casting call through different fire, websites and things like that. And we got flooded with stories from people who wanted to participate in the film. I think we had 800 submissions in within a week or two, which is a lot. And so our casting director, Louise Collette, is the one who had to kind of do those initial vetting of the stories and, trying to narrow it down to, a subset of that 800. And then I think that's when we realized, when we started understanding the true diversity of the fire service, the different parts of the country, the different types of people, different ages, backgrounds, the different types of services different departments do in different parts of the country. We realized that we couldn't do it with just 3 stories, that we needed to tell a broader story. And so that's when the casting kind of opened up in terms of at least our thinking of the stories. And then I think it was kind of a matrix, because we wanted a good representation of different parts of the country, geographically, different sizes, very small communities, larger communities, young people, older people. So it was just like story by story, making sure we had like a really representative mix that, we thought would speak to lots of different people, because we wanted lots of different people to see themselves or their communities, in this film.
And Cameron, this movie's resonated with fire councils across the country, even as a recruitment tool, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was, from the beginning, that was the hope, and the goal was that this would really be at the center of an impact campaign focused on recruitment. And we tried to be strategic in the stories we were telling, like Gary said, so that people could see that this was something that they could do. So it's being used right now. It's free for departments across the country to use. There are hundreds of screenings that have already been requested and are being set up, that are underway throughout the summer. So anyone can request it, to be screened at their local department. Departments are using it in events, for recruitment, having their local firefighters there to answer questions and let people know what's the need in our community. Because that's really what it takes. And that's what we'd always heard was, most firefighters get started because they've had a conversation with a firefighter about it. And so we were hoping this film would at least somewhat recreate that experience of getting to actually meet a firefighter. But yeah, the goal is that this will continue to be a tool for departments to use to help with recruitment around the country.
Yes, it's a Make Me a Firefighter campaign, I believe it's called, right?
Yeah, so you can go to makemeafirefighter.org where you can find out what the needs are in your community. And then to request a screening specifically for the film, you can go to oddhoursfilm.com, which has all the information on those community screenings and a form to request one.
And Gary, John Deere has a hand in making of the movie too. I mean, how American is that, right?
Exactly. Well, John Deere was a great partner on the project and really supported just the effort. I mean, it just aligns very much with who they are as a company, and they're very pro volunteer, and they support with their employees, and I think also realize a lot of their customers, a lot of their distributors are volunteer firefighters as well, and I think they also realize that these departments are critical to the survival of these small rural communities that they serve, as their customer base. So I think that was why it was important to them.
And I have to leave you today, gentlemen. I'm a pop culture guy. I'm a big Lucy fan. There was a Lucy show episode called Live. Lucy and Viv are volunteer firemen. I don't know if you've ever seen that episode.
No.
January 14th, 1963. It's all made up of women. You can go on YouTube and watch the episode. Hopefully that's not an example of most volunteer fire departments around the country.
Can only imagine.
But I thought of the episode right away because they did their duty for Danbury, Connecticut when they lived in that episode. So, but gentlemen, so check it out. Well, gentlemen, congratulations on an incredible documentary, opened my eyes, and it's just an amazing stories and an amazing commitment that people make to their communities. And thank you so much. And let's talk again soon.
All right. Thanks for your interest, Jeffrey. Okay.